I feel like my taste in music is like quite vast, and like I have like different genres that I really enjoy and stuff. One of the things that I really, really love to do is like when people ask me, Kev, do you mind handling the playlist for this party or for get together, or certainly for my wife and I for our wedding. I was in charge of the music, and I like took it so seriously because I like love trying to do what I can to make sure that it's a consistent vibe and things like that. So I can't wait to like get into what that looks like for someone who does that on the norm. But before we begin, just to start off, I'm going to re-ask you the same question I asked you a few seconds ago, but how are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm recovering though from this weekend.
Intense weekend, you said, right? So you had, so is that
Yeah.
normal? Like how many, you said you had two gigs, or was it more than that this weekend?
2 gigs, one
Okay.
Friday, one Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that like regularly, like most weekends that come and go, like you have pretty much something going on every weekend, or does it kind of vary?
Um, it depends. This weekend was big in San Francisco because of Halloween, but also because Outside Lands, the festival is here.
Oh,
So there's a ton of people in town. The festival ends at 10 p.m., so people are trying to do things after. So I did two after parties.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
That's awesome. And so you said clubs usually close at 2 o'clock in San Francisco where you're at. And you said, so the after parties, do they go from two till whenever, or is it like a hard stop at a
hmm
certain time?
The one I did was 2 to 5, and
Wow.
then the other thing about San Francisco is you can start partying again at 6 a.m.
Oh, wow.
So then some places they start at 6 a.m.
Wow.
because it's legal to
Yeah.
serve alcohol. So it's very interesting the time between 2 and 6 a.m. because it's people are like, oh, where do we go? Do we go to a friend's house? Usually with this, it's there's like a text blast that goes out to people that subscribe to a certain channel for text message,
Yeah.
and so it'll give you the address only a couple hours before, and it'll say who's DJing and the price and everything, but it's pretty funny compared to Miami or New York where that's just normal,
Mm-hmm.
to have the clubs stay open. So
Right, right.
yeah, it's a quirky thing about San Francisco.
That's super interesting. Are you from San Francisco originally?
No, I grew up in Florida, but now I'm back and forth between Florida and here in San Francisco. So I'm here for the week, here for work and music stuff, and but I bounce back. So I used to live here for a while, but then when COVID happened, San Francisco was the strictest, and I was not about that. So I moved to Florida. I moved to Miami. Yeah, and so everything is normal over there, and it's great. Here, not so much.
Do you
hmm
sometimes do you sometimes
hmm
incorporate your music into other music that people are more used to hearing, like in your sets and stuff like that, or is it only the latter?
Sometimes. Yeah, the funny thing about for me DJing, every gig is different. It really depends on the venue and who's shows up. 'Cause I can go from disco, you know, general crowd pleaser type vibe to just like underground, dark, dirty stuff that not isn't for everyone. Yeah. So if my songs fit one of those vibes, then yeah. And it's fun to try out your songs on big speakers and see if the crowd likes it. That's big. hmm
Maybe you could speak to, I guess, like this past weekend, did you have opportunity to have a set, going, and then say, oh, I'm going to go ahead and put this mix, put one of your songs in, and then see everyone start going crazy, and you're like, yeah, you don't say it's yours, but you know in the back of your mind that it's yours. Anything like
hmm
that happen?
Yeah, so a little bit about that. So the weekend before I was in Miami, there was Three Points Festival, which is a big festival that goes on there, and it's a lot of good underground music. And I had the opportunity to see a Detroit legend, Robert Hood. He's techno DJ. And normally techno is a little bit intense for me, but like seeing that that set was just like amazing, and it inspired me to basically create a couple songs this week with a friend where, it's just dark, dirty, but like I do the vocals, but I, pitch down the vocals so I sound like a dude and just say like some, disgusting stuff. So I was like, this will be perfect for after hours. And so yeah, track bumped. It's not done, but it was fun to play a little snippet of it. Much more recent. I was always obsessed, especially in high school, with creating mixes, and burning them on CDs and giving them to people, creating a vibe. Because back then that we didn't have Spotify or anything, so I was happy to do that for people. I just didn't really have a background in music, and I didn't even know how to approach it, like making music or DJing or anything like that. I always wanted to be in the creative space, but I was worried that I wouldn't make money that way. So I studied engineering, and got a job out here in San Francisco doing that, which was fine, but it wasn't until I kind of settled down and I realized like this sucks and I still want to, do music stuff. So I learned to DJ. I had a friend like show me what the buttons were and everything like that. And then I started doing gigs right away out here. And it just kind of snowballed like one after the other because I always felt like a music curator. So being able to do that for like a live crowd was awesome and people liked it. So after less than a year of doing that, that was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't get necessarily bored of it, but I was like, this isn't enough. So then I learned to use Ableton, and started learning about music production and stuff like that, and started networking a lot, trying to, meet people that also did music. Because at the time, I didn't know even one person that I could reach out to and ask for advice or anything. So that was tough starting out, but uh, and I mean, it's still kind of tough, building a network when your close friends don't understand it and don't necessarily understand what you're trying to do. So, but it's been an amazing journey. Um, but yeah, it's been more recent in my life. And I mean, I think a lot of people go through that. I mean, people are blessed to know early on what they want to do and what they're passionate about, but a lot of people don't. And like a lot of my friends, they just do the day-to-day job and they're like so engulfed in that they don't even like know what their true passion or and creativity lies. So I'm just grateful to have figured it out.
Do you have any specific shows that you've done where you can look back on and you say to yourself, like, this was one of the most memorable ones? Like, do you have recollection of like your first big show where you're like, man, this is bigger than all the crowds that I've seen before, or even a smaller one that was more intimate where you just felt like you left there and like everyone, like you were like looking at all these smiles on people's faces because they just had such a good time? Any like stories or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, most of that was pre-COVID, so 2019 is when my DJ career, I guess, really started taking off, playing at Burning Man, which was really cool because I didn't necessarily play to a lot of people, but like, there's art cars at Burning Man, and if people are on the art car, it's a custom made car that it's like a in like a in a parade where they make those cars that people are on, and it's like a parade bus or something, but they're really wild, and they're built for like DJing and people hanging on it and jumping off it and everything. um so I was able to play there and play for hours, like literally like 7 or more hours sometimes, like through the night, through the sunrise, and people were like still like, on the car, and they were just like, it was like a journey. And so that wasn't like the biggest crowd, but I remember someone later coming up to me like later in the week of Burning Man, and saying that set that you did was my favorite set of all Burning Man, and literally the most amazing artists are at Burning Man. So that was like mind blowing to me. Even just one person saying that was like so cool. And then also 2 Halloweens ago, so they used to do a party every year in San Francisco. The big party was called the Deadly Disco. It was at like the big, big club. So I got to play that 2 years ago. That the outdoor, more underground part section of the club, and that was amazing. That was like a big crowd. Everyone was just like enjoying it. Like I could tell everyone was there. Like no one was like coming in and out. It was like people were there like the whole set, which was really cool. So, and then yeah, COVID was kind of a disaster for music, and yeah, that went like this. But I, yeah, it was like um because I was playing like Art Basel in Miami, and things were really taking off, and then it all just shut down. But I was still really happy during that time because I wasn't able to focus just on music production because it's such a bitch to learn. Like especially with no music background, it was just a lot. So that's what I focused on during COVID, and then more recently things have started to pick up. I did a really cool gig in Phoenix a month or two ago. It was on a rooftop, and they had reached out to me and were like, like I listened to your SoundCloud and everything, and like you're perfect for this party to headline this party. And I was like super honored. Um, and it was like amazing because I got to play the stuff I really want to play. I wasn't playing to the crowd. It was they were coming, to see this kind of music. Yeah. So that was cool. That was like, okay, this is what I want to do. As fun as some gigs are, like um just at some venues or playing friends' birthdays or something, it's like it's not as fun as doing the ones where it's like people are coming because they know what kind of music I play. Like, you know what I mean? So,
Would you say that your SoundCloud is like the place to go to for your like your portfolio kind of thing? Is that like the place that people check out first?
honestly, I haven't updated it in 2 years, but but I do mixes sometimes for other people, and so I'll repost it, but it's not necessarily on my SoundCloud. So Instagram is really where I just have everything. Um, it's everything in one place kind of thing. Because SoundCloud, it's it's weird. Even the music I released, I tried to claim it on SoundCloud, and SoundCloud is like, "That's not your song. You're not Francesca Cavallo." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's literally mine." They're like, "You don't own it." I'm like, "Yeah, I do." So it's still not, it doesn't even show up on my page. So
In general, sometimes do people like reach out because they're searching the hashtags or whatever on Instagram and they see your stuff and they say, "Oh, we might be interested in and having you headline a set or having you be a part of this." Like, do you get those types of inquiries and stuff from Instagram as well?
yes, but also a little backstory about the Phoenix show. So those people I had actually met from a live stream. So I had met another artist who does live streams every Wednesday, and he started doing it like a year or two ago. And I've been pretty involved, like I just to learn because I'm so new compared to everyone else. Everyone else has been doing this for like at least 5 to 10 years, it seems. So I was just going in there to learn, and sometimes I'll submit music and get feedback. But it's actually a really close-knit community in that particular Twitch stream. So I that's where I originally met these people online. And then we would connect, and I've actually collaborated with some that way. Um, and that's I've gotten DJ gigs that way. So honestly, like out of all the networking, that I was surprised how much has come out of that one live stream that usually only has like 30 people or less. But because it's so small, everyone and like people come every week almost, that it's easy to like keep in touch and be like, oh, hey, how are you? Or what do you think of this track? And then people will be like, I love that track. And then they'll reach out to you and be like, send it to me. And, or do you want to like collab? So uh, that's actually how I've gotten the two artists that I'm signing for my label most recently are from that same group of people.
And you mentioned a label. So this is something I wasn't as familiar with. So is this
hmm
something you started recently?
Yeah, I just started it in August. I came up with the idea 2 years ago though. So it took me that long to actually make it happen. Um, yeah, it's been a process, but now um, I just have so much like music I haven't released in the last that's I've been making the last 2 years. And meeting people and getting them interested and stuff. So yeah, 2022 will be big, I think. This year was a lot of figuring out what to do, and now I know what to do, and now I just need to do it.
If you have a chance to go to a dream concert of yours and five artists throughout the span of time, living or dead, are going to be performing at this concert, there's no doubt that's two.
Biggie
Just kidding.
Smalls, no
I know what
doubt.
you meant. Even though no doubt it was dope though.
Probably someone else from hip hop that's died. Maybe Mac Dre or something. I think that would be so cool because it's just they were dead when I was born, so I wasn't even given, it wasn't even possible. And so then more recent people, I would say, probably people in the electronic space. I was lucky enough to see Peggy Gou last weekend. She's this Korean girl who was big inspiration for me from the beginning. Yeah, she's amazing. She does like piano and she does all her vocals on her songs. So that's cool.
Have you done any shows in the city, New York?
Yeah, not at any notable clubs per se. Like my friend had actually a pretty notable birthday like mid-COVID that got a little out of control with like she had a guest list and a bouncer and everything, and somehow the entire city like showed up to this party. In the it was like last July. So like yeah. Yeah, lots of COVID was had. And then that was in Soho, and then I've also played in the Hamptons at like people's houses and stuff. So, I am hoping to play there more. I was actually asked, there's this place called Make Believe. I don't know if you've heard of it. Um, yeah, where one of my friends, or actually a few of my friends DJ there a lot, and they introduced me to the owner, and he was like, "Yeah, like would love to have you. Just let me know when." So
If you can, please, you can let people know where they can find you and check out some of your stuff.
yeah, my Instagram is DJ Francesca Cavallo and SoundCloud/Francesca Cavallo, and everything is linked in Instagram. So that's probably the best place. But yeah, thanks for having me. Maybe you can teach me a couple things about chords, because that's originally why I followed you. Because I was learning piano and I was like, I'm following some hashtag, and I was just like, oh, he looks like he knows what he's doing. So hoping to learn a couple things.
I think that's a great idea. Actually, I would be thrilled to do that. I mean, I also use Ableton. I have a lot of different places that I make music, and Ableton is probably the least used currently. Although just recently I started kind of getting back into it a little bit, just because I have things set up in a way where I can access it better. Like my
Mm-hmm.
computers, my monitor is sitting right here. I have like this whole live
Mm-hmm.
studio kind of thing here. So I'm actually excited to start getting Ableton back into like the live streaming strategy and stuff eventually. But I would be thrilled to do just that. I would even ask you, actually, you can think about it and then you can hit me up on Instagram. I feel like I have a wealth of knowledge
Mm-hmm.
about a lot of things musical. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming to think about what type of educational content that I want to incorporate in my Khordmaster, as well as my KMATS is the name of my tutoring and piano lesson business. So there's some, intersection, of course, between the music stuff for both those brands. But if there's things that you're like, oh, I would love to, I don't know a basic chord progression or just like any type of thing that you think might be helpful from a production standpoint, I would be thrilled to hear that and then be able to, make something easily and post it and then, kind of see if that can be something that others can also find value in.
Yeah, I can definitely ask you, in terms of like house music stuff, doing the jazzy chords and stuff like that would be really cool and helpful.
That's dope. We're going to definitely do that.
Okay.
We will
Okay.
definitely do that, my friend. All right, so I'm going to give you back the rest of your night. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I look forward to getting this episode out, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Sounds good. Peace out.